So if you're a fan of blues, blues rock, and Eric Clapton, I'm going to assume that you've heard Eric play on the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers record from 1966. I recently revisited this album and did a deep dive by transcribing what I thought were some of the best moments that feature Eric Clapton's guitar playing at a mere 21 years of age. And one of my favorite songs is their version of the Memphis Slim instrumental, Steppin' Out. So from what I learned about studying this era of Clapton is that he had some real reservations about taking a band into the studio and getting authentic blues performances that really captured the band's energy and improvisation. So the only option was to record live and loud in the Decca recording studios. So that's a 12-bar section from the solo Eric plays in the tune Steppin' Out, and it's 100% derived from the G minor pentatonic scale. The thing that's often overlooked is how much he gets out of just that minor pentatonic scale. It's all about phrasing, and he has loads of it. So often on YouTube, we see lessons about playing outside of the box or abandoning the pentatonic scale. And my feeling is, yes, playing beyond the pentatonic scale is awesome, but a great player with really solid phrasing can make a captivating solo with just 5 notes of a pentatonic scale. So at that point in the solo, Eric is really tearing it up, and he's just kind of living in G minor pentatonic, mostly out of that number 1 pattern that many of us probably know. He only leaves it at about measure 10, so through 9 measures, he's living in that box, playing stuff like this. Really great stuff. That sounds immediately like what I think of when I think of Clapton. He further goes on to stuff like this. And he might even play that with the 3rd and 2nd fingers. He was a big 3rd and 2nd finger player like Jimmy Page. I like to use my pinky because it's available. But you can hear putting that stuff together is all just in minor pentatonic 1. Killer. Really, really fun stuff. The next thing he does is he goes on to this really great rake sort of sound, and still staying in that pattern. Only at that point does he leave to go to pattern 2 and walk it down. Then he ventures into pattern 5, I would call it, but never hitting anything other than a G minor pentatonic scale note. So the whole idea here is that he got a lot with a little, and that's important when we're thinking about really using our minor pentatonics in our blues and blues rock playing to its fullest. So this isn't like a full lesson video, but I wanted to make that tab and the track of those 12 bars available to you. It's in the links below. That tab and that track is part of a course that I put out called Just the Licks Blues Breakers Edition, and it focuses on these shining moments that Eric has on the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers record. You can get it in the links for 50% off. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. So when we talk about the Beano record, we have to talk about the guitar sound. Eric had a tremendous tone from his 1960 Les Paul into a JTM 45 Marshall combo that affectionately became known as the Blues Breaker amp because of this record. Now, I don't have that gear, but I do have a 59 Murphy Lab Les Paul going into a 73 100-watt Marshall head. Now, I don't have any cabinets mic'd in the house or in the studio, but I do have an aux box from Universal Audio that the amplifier connects to, and that simulates a speaker load. Now, it also has this software that you're going to see that simulates cabinets, microphones, effects, and more. We're going to talk about how we can manipulate that to even get closer to Eric's sound. What's great about it is I can crank the amp, I can listen through studio monitors or headphones, and I'm getting all the feel and nuance of this 100-watt Marshall here. So you see in the app here that I have a 412 cabinet drawn up. I did a 412 because the 212s in the app didn't give me the sound I was looking for. The 412 got closer, probably because of the style of the speaker. I think this might be, 25-watt greenback style. I don't know what was in the JTM45, but this one sounds good. I also mic'd it with large diaphragm microphones here, and that is not typical, but it yields a really big guitar sound because it hears a lot of the highs and the lows, and it's not as direct sounding as maybe an SM57 or a 421. I also added a little bit of plate reverb, just a touch, to make it not super dry, and it sounds pretty good. That's a real Marshall through that simulated speaker. Feels great, sounds really good, but it's not quite Clapton Blues Breakers era stuff. And here's why. When they were recording that record, he wanted it loud, he wanted it to feel like the band, and when an amplifier's loud in a space like that, it's gonna bleed into a lot of other microphones. It's gonna bleed into the drum overheads and any other microphones that are live. We call that room sound. Now, it's typical to mic a guitar cabinet, not just with 2 microphones, but maybe a set of room mics like this stereo ribbon pair that I have pulled up here. And you'll see this fader here, this knob, is all the way down, so you're not hearing that at the moment. So it sounds very directional, but check this out when I turn it up. We're getting all the reflections of the room, and that's how most of our favorite guitar sounds were recorded, in some fashion like that. I can crank it all the way up and you'll really hear that room sound bleed in. Clapton would even use the middle position on his Les Paul a lot too, and you'll hear that. It makes the whole sound come alive. Now that might be too much room sound, so I'll back it down a little bit. And if I took that off or muted it, you hear how much the room sound helped. Really, really fun. And if I soloed that, you're just gonna hear only the room sound. Check this out. So if you were in a recording studio and you said, I just want to hear that microphone, it sounds like your amp's in the bathroom or in a little closet or something, or in a room with, some depth to it. The aux app is really cool because you can see it's on this wood floor here, but if I wanted to make it a little darker, boom, I can add a rug. It's a really powerful tool, and it really helped me get more in the ballpark of EC's tone on that record. So there's some speculation about whether or not Eric used a treble booster on those sessions, and I'm in the camp that believes he did not and just went from his Les Paul into the Marshall, cranked it, got the room sound, voila, amazing blues rock guitar sound. The kind of sound that we all chase after, right? So the Dallas Rangemaster was the treble booster of the day, and it really did pair well with Marshalls and Voxes. As amps got more distorted, the low end can kind of smother some notes and not give you the clarity you need to cut through a band. And a treble booster can not only do that, but it can also give you more gain from pushing the amp as well. So when I was putting this course together, I started looking at some treble boosters, and I had the Cestus from Mythos. That's the one I was using, but Analog Man actually makes one they call the Beano Boost in tribute to this era of Clapton, right? They both sound really good. This one's battery driven only, so I went with this for most of my courses so I didn't have to worry about draining a battery. But we're going to turn it off. And this is the bridge pickup with that same sound that we had in the last segment. Now, as I kick this on, you're going to hear the low end go away, a little bit more pronounced mids, and more gain, because that's what the output control will do for us. It is fun, man. It's that different kind of drive. It's not metal drive. It's like, Paul Kossoff or Cream, that kind of thing. And as we push that output control, we'll just get more, gain from the front of the amp. It's a blast. Now, most modern treble boosters, they've decided to kind of put some tweaks on them. There's a switch on here that will give you a little bit more of the low mids, and then there's a fat switch that'll give you more lows, like if you're running single coils or something. But I kind of love it right where it's at. It gives me that gnarly, nasally sound. Take it off. Too much fun. But that's treble boosters, and they were popular in that era, and some people think Clapton used one, some people don't. Either way, it sounds really freaking good when you use it with a dirty sound. Don't use it with your clean amp, use it with a dirty sound, and it'll give you a lot of fun sounds that you might not have had before, but you might be searching for. So that's it. Eric just needed a guitar, an amplifier, a lot of volume, and one pentatonic scale to play some of that great stuff that he did on the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers featuring Eric Clapton album. It really was influential for me as a guitar player, and it was so much fun to go back and start to sift through all these licks and solos to see what we could extract from them. So don't forget to download the tab and the track that go along with that 12-bar section of the Steppin' Out solo. That's a part of my course, Just the Licks Blues Breakers Edition. It's on sale for 50% off in those links as well. And before you leave, please subscribe to the channel and like the video so we reach more people. I sure would appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.